do the show. It's you and Sandra here, and we have Carmen Di Luccio joining us. Carmen, great to have you back on.
Yes, thank you.
Your limp is a lot less than it was last time.
Yeah, well, last time no one could see the limp on TV, but yeah, I fractured my ankle down in Guatemala.
You fractured it?
Yeah. He was going on his way to a volcano.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing Elaine is not here right now, because he never made it to the crater.
Oh.
Yeah, I never made it.
Well, I just got to tell you a little story, because I had not a fracture, but a sprain. Was it your ankle?
Yeah, it was my ankle right here.
Wow.
Okay, I had a really bad sprain like 2 years ago. I was playing Frisbee on Canada Day, and I came down hard, and it was really bad. Like, I thought I broke it. But I ran into a homeopath just by fluke, and he gave me a remedy, a homeopathic remedy. I recovered so quickly from that. I was off crutches like in 3 weeks.
You know, okay, I just want to add something to that.
Yeah.
That was a sprain, right?
That was a sprain.
Sprains usually you heal a lot faster. This is a bone fracture.
Yeah, but still, I was amazed at how fast it healed. Just the homeopathy really worked.
I did use homeopathy. I used I had Joe here doing crystal healing. I did a lot of alternative stuff. I'm into like superfoods and herbs and things like that. Bone injuries, especially it's ruled by Saturn. Right? Okay. So a lot of times when you have, like, you hear of some people healing bone injuries miraculously quick, but usually those aren't the type of injuries that you're just going to heal like that overnight. Usually they're related to some hard lessons you need to learn.
Okay.
And they're going to take a lot longer. And Saturn's very slow. They're meant to slow you down, sometimes get you focused in certain areas.
Interesting.
If there's certain aspects of your life that you haven't been fulfilling, let's say, or certain things, like lessons you need to learn pretty much.
So is that why you think this happened, Carmen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because you ended up coming back.
I ended up coming back.
Because you should still be there right now.
I was going to be there till June.
So that's really, I mean, I've never even heard that before, about that you know, there's sort of this metaphysical purpose behind a bone injury.
Well, behind any injury.
A broken bone.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So what do you think it was for you this time?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit more personal, but I mean, I think the main thing was for me to get focused in certain areas. I think I've been a little bit unsure of how to project myself in this world. Like, I've been...
To your role, you mean? Your purpose?
Yeah, like, I kind of know my purpose, but it's like, okay, how do I fulfill that purpose?
Okay.
Do I, am I... like, there's so many, like, when you're on a spiritual path, when you I started my spiritual awakening in this lifetime about 6-7 years ago, and on that journey, sometimes, there's some amazing periods, and sometimes there's some periods where it's like, okay, what is my role in this world?
There's some lows, yeah.
And, I know a lot of that, but then sometimes, like, this injury was to teach me a lesson as to, okay, you're not supposed to be going in this direction with your life. You're supposed to be going more in this direction. Like, it was clear with me, and there's even other things that it brought up. So
it's good that you were able to detach yourself from the actual injury itself and look at the deeper meaning.
You want to know something? A couple days before, so I'm an astrologer, right?
Right.
I was looking at my transits, or maybe less than a week before, and I saw that I was getting a transit that could, change the course of the direction of my life, where I was going, like the things I was doing, and it looked like it could be a potential accident, but I didn't think of it as like a physical injury. And I'm like, oh man, what's this?
And it's kind of hard to read yourself too,
and,
right?
What happened too? You can actually, there's an application of astrology called astrocartography.
Astrocartology, okay.
Yeah. And you can look at different areas of the world and see what the energy's like for you in those areas. So I was actually planning on staying in Mexico for 4 months, and a friend of mine said, come to Guatemala, you'll like it better. And I looked at my astrocartography, I'm like, wow, it's amazing for me there. And my Jupiter was very strong there, my natal Jupiter. So I overlooked the fact that I was getting a heavy Uranus transit, which Uranus rules like sudden accidents, to my Jupiter. So if I had been in Toronto, it might not have been that bad of an accident.
Because it depends where you are on the globe.
Yeah, because it changes your chart around.
Okay,
right? So if I was in Toronto, my Jupiter wouldn't have been as strong.
Okay.
But something might have still happened, but not
as severe.
As intense.
So can we talk a little bit about go ahead.
Sorry, and I just want to add to that, now there's, from a bigger picture perspective, I feel that was meant to happen. I was meant to go there, and it's not like, sometimes I try to get strategic with astrology and like plan, okay, I do that a little bit with business, and I think we have some leeway with that, but sometimes, when astrologers, we get too much in our head. We try to plan everything. And in one of my past lives, I was told by a psychic that I used to be an advisor for the Illuminati, and I used to because they use it for planning, like if they're going to conquer a country or if they're going to 9/11 or whatever, they use astrology for all kinds of stuff like that. So in one of my past lives, I believe I used to do that. So I have that tendency to do that in this lifetime, use it strategically.
So you were for the darker at that time. You kind of served more of the dark. Okay.
Yeah, that's I don't know how, that's what a psychic told me. So.
Okay.
I thought this Illuminati thing was just a lot of hooey.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If they've been around in a past life, they must have been around for a while.
Oh yeah, well it's not just the Illuminati; it's just the elite.
Just
we call them the Illuminati,
the ruling elite, whatever.
Whatever, yeah, the ruling elite. They've been using astrology for even
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan, but Alexander the Great. Before he was born, he was conceived so that they're trying to plan it so that he would be born, his son would be aligned with the Star of Kings, Regulus.
Oh.
Yeah, they purposely tried to. So
Did they get close?
I think so. I haven't. I read that somewhere. I haven't actually looked at the chart.
Okay,
Regulus was in a different position. That was over 2,000 years ago.
So, you were in Mexico during the winter solstice, December 21st, 2012. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. I want to talk about that, and I also want to talk about just that date in general.
Okay.
Now that it's over, and some people have mixed feelings about it. I learned about 2012 maybe 10 years ago, and I had different expectations of it. Some people thought it's the end of the world. Some people thought we're going to be in the fifth dimension. We're going to be a totally enlightened society, and everyone had different expectations. And it wasn't until 2-3 years ago I realized, okay, that's what I thought. I thought we were going to become an enlightened society by then, and it wasn't until 3 years ago I'm like, okay, it's not going to happen. It's a little because I seen the progression in the last 3 years. Yeah, but I still viewed it as an important day. I still viewed it, and that's another reason why I even got more into astrology, and because Western astrology tells us a story of what's going on, and so I always had this interest, and I really wanted to go to Mexico for that period or do something special, and then it wasn't until a few weeks before, I wasn't planning on going to Mexico. I wasn't able to. I had other obligations. I didn't have the money. Just the universe, it just wasn't working out. And then a friend of mine invited me, and all expenses were paid, and last minute. Yeah,
Nice.
So I ended up down there, and it was amazing. It was a lot of. I'd say a lot of the significant key players of the New Age movement were down there on that day, and I met a lot of people. I met Greg Braden, I met Foster Gamble, Pat Flanagan, a lot of amazing people. Ben Stewart, the Karmatica director, and I'm not friends with him already, but a lot of amazing people were down there. It was just a really good collective gathering of people, and the day of the December 21st. What happened was I got in right at sunrise. I was with the first group that walked in, and there's ceremonies going on everywhere around the pyramid. There's Mayans were doing ceremonies, then some grandmothers were doing some ceremonies, and every guru that was there was doing some kind of ceremony, and the energy there was amazing. You can feel that. It kind of felt like closure. It kind of felt like I've been waiting a lot of lifetimes for this, and here we are. We're co-creating the new world. And now there's a lot of mixed understandings about that date. Some people think the Mayans came up with that date, and there's different. And what a lot of people don't realize is that date was kind of co-created by us. Terence McKenna was one of the first people who he might have got that date from someone else, but he made that date public, and then Jose Arguelles everyone started pushing that date, and the Mayans never actually had that date. The Mayans knew around that date, they had a different calendar system, and some people say it synchronized with that date, some people say it didn't, but the point I'm trying to say is from an astrological perspective and from a manifestation perspective, if thousands or millions of people around the world project that, okay, this is the beginning of a new age, of a new cycle, we're creating that. And whatever the astrological alignments were at that time, that is what we're creating. We're projecting that energy into that astrological configuration.
Because now some people view that date as the start of a new era, which means that new era, as long as it exists in people's minds, has a birth chart.
Exactly.
Right?
Absolutely.
So have you done the calculations of the birth chart?
Ah.
Well, we have the chart right here.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's. We can't really see that, but people might be able to blow that up. But let's talk about it, because people don't really understand. Most people don't know how to read an astrology chart.
Okay, so the main thing I want to say is now there's 2 dates for December for the Mayan calendar. There's the October 28, 2011. You guys remember that?
October 28, 28.
And then there's December. There's 2 camps. They're like debating which one was right.
Right.
Now this one makes way more sense because of the positioning of the sun, because it's the winter solstice. That's like the new moon of the sun.
Right.
From our perspective.
Yeah. Okay.
From a geocentric perspective. So that's when it's like a new seed being planted, and the fact that it was at 11:11 a.m. in Universal Time in Greenwich.
Oh, I see.
It was 11:11.
Why did they choose that time again?
That was the moment of the solstice. That's the moment the sun went into Capricorn.
So nobody planned that. That's
nobody planned it. Yeah.
And it was 11:11, which is
that's pretty serendipitous.
Universal time.
Yeah.
Universal. We're becoming citizens of the universe, right? So 11:11 Universal time, and
very nice.
So that is, first of all, very significant. And then when you look at the chart, this is the chart for Greenwich, for 11:11 Greenwich. So I pull up that chart because this is what everyone's projecting, 11:11.
Yeah.
And we have Neptune, Chiron rising, which that signifies a lot of spiritual healing of past wounds, learning from our past mistakes and transmuting them.
Yeah.
And then so the chart ruler, we have Pisces rising, and that makes the chart ruler Jupiter, and there's like an arrow pointing at Jupiter. That's a yod. They call a yod, it's basically called the finger of God. It tells you, okay, this is an area that needs focus and needs attention. And Jupiter in the 3rd house in Gemini says, we need a big picture vision. We need to expand our mind. We need to integrate the higher mind with the lower mind, right brain, left brain. And that's just one way to look at it. And then when we do that, it harmonizes with these 2 other planets. And we have Saturn in the 8th house in Scorpio. The 8th house in Scorpio has to do with shared resources, joint resources. And we have Pluto in the 11th house in Capricorn, and that has to do with the 11th house has to do with the global community, the collective. So when all these planets are working harmoniously, like these are 3 planets that I really pay attention to. It says, let's use our big picture vision. Let's look at everything from a big picture in order to, use the world's resources more equally and use joint, like the resources of the planet, and you do that to create a new collective consciousness.
So now this chart that you're showing us, it's Greenwich time.
Yeah.
Is this representative of the planet, or is this representative of a place on the planet?
This is the chart. If you're in Greenwich at that time, this is the chart for that moment at that location.
If you're in Greenwich, what does that mean? That's a time zone. So anywhere in that spirit, like
if you were in Toronto at that time, so this is in Toronto, I think it was 5/11.
Okay.
Was the solstice.
Okay.
It'd be the same. The planets would all be in the same signs, except they would be positioned. There would be different houses.
So would the reading be different then for Toronto?
It would, yeah. There'd be a little bit of a different theme for every.
Okay.
It'd be a little bit different for every area, but this is the main one because we're putting in all that intention into this time and that location.
Okay.
We keep saying 11/11. We see 11/11 all the time, and I think the fact that so many people see 11/11 is related to December 21st, 2012.
And if any time is going to represent the whole planet, it would be the Greenwich.
It'd be the Greenwich,
because that's considered universal time, right?
Universal time, yeah.
Okay.
We as humans have appointed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so it's valid.
Okay.
It's like numerology.
Okay. So it's the dominant one, pretty much, and then everybody else might play a role, but like a supporting role.
Well, there's different, the thing is with astrology, there's so many ways to look at things. So you can look at this time for Toronto, it'll tell you things, and then I can get this chart and Toronto's chart and combine it, and that'll tell me about Toronto too.
Okay.
Right, and then, or I can look at this chart and combine it with your chart, and I can see what this means for you.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
So is it a good horoscope?
Yeah, to me, it looks really good, and a lot of the things that. The main thing that stands out to me in this chart is the spiritual healing from past wounds, and moving into a time of, using, like, no more greed, no more people hoarding, the elite hoarding everything in the planet. It's more of a time of equality and using, using resources in a shared way. And another thing too is, I mentioned the fixed star Regulus, but with Alexander the Great. So when just before December 21st, 2012, Regulus went into the sign. Every 2,000 so years, Regulus goes into a new sign, and Regulus went into Virgo after 2,000. It's been in Leo for over 2,000 years. So it's the brightest star out of all the stars, and whenever that goes into a different sign, that kind of shifts things a little bit.
Okay.
So it going into Virgo even says that it's a time more of service and people just being of service to each other, as opposed to Leo. The shadow of Leo is hierarchy.
Now, Carmen, could you do, ahead of time, could you do that same kind of chart for December 21st, 2013, for this coming year, Greenwich, 11/11, all of the same thing?
But it won't be, but the thing is I can do 11/11, but this is when the moment the sun went into Capricorn. This is the moment of the winter solstice.
Okay.
So if I pull up December 21st, 2012, 11/11 to 2013, the sun might still be in Sag, or it might already be 6 hours into Capricorn.
Okay.
But I can pull up the moment of the solstice, but it's going to be a different time, most likely.
But would it also be a good gauge to see what the next year would be like? Because in terms of what to expect?
This is the thing. It's like, okay, this is one thing I don't like to get into too much.
Okay.
It's like you wanted me to talk about the eclipse.
Yeah.
Right? I can and I can get into a little bit, but the thing is for everybody it's a different theme.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So when I look at charts of clients, I look at how the eclipse is affecting their actual chart and how it's because
personal.
For example, an eclipse, whenever there's an eclipse, it's a time of change, a time of new beginnings. It's like a super activated new moon, a solar eclipse. So it affects the next 6 to 8 months or longer. So whenever there's an eclipse, whatever area it is in your chart, it creates a shift in that area for the next 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
Right? So I can look at, okay, what does this mean for everybody? And we can get into a general thing, right? But then, I find that sometimes you're repeating the same stuff.
Okay.
If you read a lot of astrologers on the internet, they say, transformation all the time. They always say the same stuff.
Yeah,
it's like,
yes.
okay, whatever.
Yes, I have found that.
I'd rather specialize and see how it's influencing an exact person. Like, you asked me to look at the eclipse. I knew how it was affecting my chart. I knew a year ago how this eclipse was going to affect my chart. But generally, I did look at it briefly. I just wrote some notes here.
Yes, because we gave you a bit of an assignment 20 minutes ago.
Sometimes I post on Facebook and stuff. I'll post what the eclipses, what the themes are, but I don't know. I don't really like to get I'm not into doing horoscopes.
General stuff, yeah.
So the main thing I see is it's in Taurus, and Taurus has to do with values, and it's redefining our values by looking at past stuff because it's aligned with the South Node. The South Node has to do with past stuff.
Okay.
And seeing the big picture because it's an aspect to Jupiter and Gemini. So that theme about seeing the big picture of things.
It's back again.
It's going to be brought up in this 6 to 8 month period.
Okay.
Another thing too is there could even be with relationships. There's some of the themes. One of the themes of last year's solar eclipse, from my perspective, there's one this time last year, I think it was May 22nd or something. One of the themes from my perspective is we're redefining relationships, redefining how we do relationships for the new world.
Are you talking about like romantic relationships or relationships with people at work?
But with everything.
Parents?
With everything.
Okay.
With everything, because but even more, I talk more about romantic, but with everything, because there's a recalibration of the masculine and feminine energies on the planet right now.
Women are taking over.
Well, some women like to believe that.
They're taking their time.
I would say they're
some women like to believe that. What did you say?
There's this fantasy, this matriarchal fantasy that women are taking over and all guys. It's not necessarily, but it might feel like that.
We're not going to make you feel bad. Don't worry.
Okay, it might feel like that because the female energy is rising for sure, and that's what we need, right? But if we go into a matriarchy, it's going to be the same thing.
Give us an inch, we'll take a mile, right? Watch out!
Yeah.
The floodgates are opening.
So last year, I think that was one of the themes is how do we do relationships in a new way?
Okay.
And I think some of those themes themes are being brought up again because it's interesting. A few hours before the eclipse, Venus, which is the ruler of Taurus, goes into Gemini at the exact same position of last year's eclipse was. So I believe a lot of those themes are going to be
back.
Maybe they didn't really go away. They're still continuing.
Or we didn't get it right the first time.
Yeah, well, it depends. Like, you know what it is too is I kind of believe in. I do believe in a bit of fate, but I still believe we have a bit of free will, and a lot of it has to do with, okay, here's this astrological configuration. What are you projecting into the configuration?
Yes. Can that change?
Right.
Do you think that can change the configuration, our consciousness, our collective? Can that change that?
No, the configuration is always going to be there. The astrological weather is always going to be what it's going to be.
It's just the weather.
Yeah, it's the weather.
Yeah.
But but your projection into it, right? So, for example, if you're getting a really heavy Saturn transit, it can make you really focused, disciplined. But if you have some lessons you need to learn, Saturn's going to teach you those lessons.
Okay.
Right? It depends, like, what you want. And sometimes there is certain fatalistic events that are going to happen, depending on, past karma and things like that you don't really have much control over sometimes, I believe.
Okay.
But I think, it's hard to say exactly where those limits are. But, as we move into the New Age astrologer, that's how we look at it. We look at it as free will into the astrological configurations, whereas the classical astrologers were more negative. Like, this is positive, this is negative, this is bad, this is good, and
there's no
that's the
budging.
mentality. Yeah, and it wasn't spiritualized. Astrology didn't get spiritualized until just this last century. Astrology went through a huge renovation, especially 40 years ago.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. It used to be different.
Huh.
Yeah, Dane Rudyard
that.
came into the scene, and he totally, in the 30s, he used to study a lot of Eastern mysticism and things, and then he got into astrology, and it didn't make sense to him because he had a very New Age spiritual perspective, and astrology did not make sense to him.
So it was more scientific at that time.
It was still metaphysical. Like, it was still metaphysical. It's just they didn't embrace spirituality. Like, they didn't have a pure spiritual perspective, and Dane Rudyard came into the scene, and he started writing about it. He started writing books and articles, and the astrological community at the time denied him. They said, this guy's out to lunch, we can't accept him. And then it wasn't until the 60s, late 60s, when that era started, when that whole awakening started, that whole new wave of people accepted his new approach to astrology, and then, that's what we've been building on since.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So here we are. So we made it through December 21st, 2012, and you're saying if we take that as a start date, it's got a pretty good birth chart.
Yeah, it's a beautiful chart. Yeah.
So what can we look forward to?
I would say that we can look forward to a more of we're becoming spiritualized beings. Right, we're becoming citizens of the universe. Now, that's a whole other topic. I can get into that, but from looking at this chart, we're moving into a more spiritualized society. We're integrating the masculine with the feminine.
Okay.
Right, and part of that, there's different, we talked about relationships. The balance of the masculine and feminine within relationships is a fractal reflection of what's happening in the world at large. So the balance of the masculine and feminine at large could mean, okay, we don't have all these elite people hoarding all the money,
controlling everything,
because that's the act of male dominance within.
Now, isn't it important too, though, Carmen, to have the male or masculine feminine balance within yourself as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
because how else do you attract that relationship if you?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a reflection of relationships. So there's the yourself, then there's the relationship, and then
everything's microcosm, macrocosm. Like,
so Hugh, you have to become more in touch with your feminine side.
I'm already in touch.
We're learning, and sometimes I don't know, like we're learning how to live on this planet in a new way, right? And
we sure are. Well, we're being unfortunately, I think a lot of times, in a lot of cases, we're being forced.
We are, yeah, we are from
resisting
our external circumstances.
Yes, whether it's environmental or Occupy movements or what have you, but it's not voluntary.
Yeah, or even like for example, relationships. If you're attracted to somebody at a certain time in your life, it's because there's some lesson that you need to learn from that relationship that's going to help you evolve in the way you need to evolve, right?
So are you, is there anything you can see about as the relationships become more and more balanced? How about the twin flame thing? Is that going to become more apparent?
The twin flame thing.
I know this is like almost a bad word now because
No,
I used to be really into that, and there's the thing. I still somewhat believe it could be true, but I don't invest a lot of my I see so many people, they invest so much energy. This person's my twin flame.
Yes.
It's like this whole fantasy.
That's why
thing,
I want to
right?
address it, because I find that too.
And it does make sense to me in a way, but I don't think a lot of these people who are into the twin flame thing, like they say, a lot of the literature says that you encounter your twin flame when you're like highly evolved and you're ready. And most of these people that I see that are into it, they're not even like, they think they might be highly evolved than the average person, but I've seen people who are like as masters walking, like who I would say are the closest to being masters, and they're not even, twin flames not even in their consciousness. It's like not even.
Well, could masters already have been united? Can they be like a unified?
Maybe. And then there's the other side of the twin flame stories that you meet your twin flame when you have encounters. You have these little encounters with your twin flame, and they're really intense, and they help you evolve. And then you never really get with your twin flame. You never really get together with your twin flame. I can see that as a possibility. Like you might have, every now and then you have an encounter with them, and then maybe in 100 years or 1,000 years, when you're fully evolved, when you're a master, when you're a light being, then you finally reintegrate with your twin flame. But
and some say that the twin flames actually don't incarnate the same time you do.
And that's the thing. Sometimes they say sometimes in some lifetimes they might, in other lifetimes they might be like your spirit guide.
Yeah, right. and also even when you have a twin flame here, it's not always a romantic partner. It could be your workmate. It could be your child.
Yeah, who knows? You know what?
It doesn't always mean.
This is the thing. It's like who knows? Like a lot of these new age subjects. It's just who knows? I don't
talk.
Yeah, I used to be really into it, and it's a cool fantasy, but.
So what took you out of it?
I wanted to focus on my own spiritual development, my own self-development, and not get so. I like all these subjects. I like that subject. I like UFOs. I like making contact. I like doing all these things, all these really out there things. But I don't focus too much of my energy because I came here to fulfill we all came here to fulfill our own dharma. We came here to perfect our soul, and I'm going to focus on that. And what do I need to do in this lifetime to work on that? That's kind of where I'm at.
So what is your dharma? What have you discovered your dharma to be, Carmen? Obviously through astrology.
Astrology is part of it, but to be a teacher, to help awaken others.
Teach what? Astrology?
Astrology is tied into it, but astrology is not my main thing. It's just to help to awaken people in different, so it's a tool? I just have a lot of, astrology is a tool for me to help guide people and to help consult with people as a life coach, I use it as guidance in different ways, but my ultimate dharma is to be a teacher, like spiritual teacher, spiritual healer. I'm working on a book right now. I do workshops, lectures. I talk about basically, becoming our own alchemical process of transmuting ourselves into embodying the soul. And I even do talks on diet and how to use diet as a tool to help to embody the soul. And I'm on my own journey too. So as I go along and learn, I'm learning things to help teach others. And I think a lot of people value my perspective because I have a lot of Taurus, and Taurus people are very grounded and practical and a voice of a Taurus person can penetrate into people more.
That's the bull in a china shop, isn't it?
Was that?
Is that a bull in a china shop? Taurus is the bull, right?
It's the bull, yeah.
Hopefully not in the china shop.
Okay.
So I have that gift that I can say things in a way that really out there stuff that it can just penetrate into people. And I might not be the most elaborate speaker, the most entertaining speaker, but the way I speak and the way I teach, people can take it in more compared to some other people, some really out there people.
Because it's grounded.
It's more very grounded.
So it comes across as being genuine,
and real. Yeah, and that's why even with astrology, it's very Taurus of me to say, okay, screw all these channelers that say, the Galactic Federation of Light and all this New Age stuff. I use astrology because it's a grounded application of divination and seeing what's going on and understanding everything. It's real, right? It's based on objects around us, and
nothing we can really argue, right?
No, it's been used for thousands of years, and it's always evolving. And we're evolving with it, right? And so.
Okay, so now I see you brought another chart as well.
Yeah, I brought the chart for Toronto because last time we were here, last time I was on the show, we briefly talked about Toronto, and I wasn't really clear because I watched the replay after. I'm like, I should have got into it a bit more, and we talked about how the new Toronto, as of '98, when Toronto was amalgamated, in did I say it right? Amalgamated in '98. Do you remember it was New Year's Eve, right at 12 o'clock. There's a big celebration, mega city. You guys remember?
Yes,
that?
yes.
So that's when we implemented the new Toronto.
Okay.
So that's what this chart is for. So it was under the sign of Capricorn, which Capricorn has to do with striving to be the best at whatever they do. But it also has a lot of Aquarius. I don't know if you see that. There's like 5 planets in Aquarius there. Wow. And
that does look pretty busy.
Yeah. Well, there's one sun in Capricorn, but then all these planets stacked in Aquarius. So the Aquarius energy is very new agey. It's very.
That's water, right? It's water.
The water bearer, but it's an air sign.
Oh.
Yeah, it's an air sign. So Toronto is Capricorn. It's earthy. It's striving. It's this international city, especially since it's became a mega city. Toronto has really like stepped up its game on the global
a metropolitan
scale. Yeah.
Okay.
But then you got all these planets in Aquarius, and then Toronto was implemented in the new moon phase. It was like 2 days after the new moon, 2.5 days. So when people are born in that period, like 2 days after the new moon, they like to make their mark in the world. They're like, here I am, and that's
look at me.
is. Yeah, Toronto's in Capricorn. Look at me, here I am. All these planets in Aquarius. So there's this potential. There's different expressions of Toronto, and we see different fractals of it. But there's this potential for Toronto to be a pioneer for this new age, this new world. Especially now, putting astrology aside, Toronto is this it's the most multicultural city in the world, and the new world is going to be a globalized like we're integrating, like right now we have separate cultures and we have different countries and stuff like that, but the way this is going is that
everybody's integrating.
Yeah, we're all integrating, right? Even if you go to my dad's from Italy. If you go to Italy, Rome, I hear it's like half of it's immigrants now, and so it's not just here, it's everywhere. Everybody's integrating, everybody's mixing in. Even musically, you're starting to see Eastern musicians mingle with Western musicians, and there's so much. The biggest, fastest growing sport right now is mixed martial arts. It's martial arts from all over the world. So you see different fractals of it in different areas, and so Toronto is a pioneer for that, in my perspective. Now, yeah, it sucks to be in a big city. It sucks to be all these EMFs and pollution and all that stuff, and it's everywhere in the world, and well, not everywhere, but any big city. And yeah, that sucks, but where there's so much opportunity for transformation here, and there's so much, everyone here accepts each other. It's not like, if you go to big cities in the States, it's very segregated. You have your black community, your white community, poor community, rich community, Spanish community, and here, yeah, it might be still a little bit segregated, but everyone gets along here. Everyone, especially like the second, third generation, all my friends are all different cultures, and we all just mingle together, and we're all, a lot of us, because of that, because we were brought up in that, a lot of us have sort of, even though we still have our religious backgrounds, like, I was born Catholic. I don't believe in it anymore, but my family's still Catholic, so I'm still somewhat part of it. I partake in Christmas and stuff like that. And same with some of my other friends who are different nationalities, different religions. They have their religious stuff, but ultimately none of us really care about our religions. A lot of us, we're all about pioneering the future, right? And yeah, let's take the best from our past.
Well, there's a lot of relational relationships as a result as well, and then interfaith relationships, because you'll have somebody who's Catholic who will marry somebody who's Jewish.
Remember when interfaith relationships, were a big problem. Yeah. Like even for a Protestant
when
to marry a Catholic was a big deal.
Yes.
And you don't really hear about that anymore.
I remember growing up.
Now they're talking about same-sex marriages.
Yes.
Now
that's legal now. Actually, according to Canada Census, the most popular marriage right now is same-sex. Everybody, heterosexuals are just doing common law.
And pretty soon,
most popular is same-sex now.
That's crazy.
And pretty soon we'll be able to marry our pets, which is
Okay. Well, you know what? We're cloning half human, half animal, people, animals. Do you know that? Do you know that they're actually cloning people and animals, and they're saying, okay, so where do we draw the line saying that this person is an animal? That's actually a question now. How do you know this is an animal or a person? Because you're actually cloning.
Get out.
Honest to God.
Where?
It's become an ethical question now. They're doing it somewhere. I don't know. Probably somewhere in the States or
Well, I
the UK.
remember a few years ago somebody created a half cat, half rabbit.
Okay, but those are still animals.
It was a cabot. They were selling them. You could order one.
See, that's got to be illegal. That can't be legal.
I know they have the hybrid house cat with the tiger. Domestic.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
It's like an exotic pet.
Okay, I didn't. Is that legal?
Yeah, it's legal.
Wow.
It's still a cat. It's still feline.
How big does it get?
It's bigger than a house cat, but smaller than
a dog.
Tiger.
Oh, okay.
Well, smaller than a lion.
Yeah, it looks kind of weird. I don't know. Some people, it's very exotic looking, but I don't know.
Okay, so that's a whole crazy topic. Just getting back to the Toronto thing, I mean, I think you mentioned we have we're the most multicultural, and I think we have the potential as a leader to communicate with everybody else in the world, because there are people here from everywhere.
Absolutely.
So, like, very close connections to pretty much everywhere on the planet.
It's the gateway to the world.
Yeah.
It really is.
And
Toronto.
It's the meeting place.
Yeah, it's the meeting. Yeah, the natives called it the meeting place.
Yeah.
Toronto means the meeting place.
And I've heard by many people that it is a spiritual vortex that for whatever reason it's playing a significant role in this whole shift.
I've heard things. I don't know. I've heard Toronto Island. There's a ley line, or the Bermuda Triangle thing in Lake Ontario, but. I used to live in Nelson, British Columbia, that's a powerful vortex.
I can imagine.
And
BC.
But out of all of BC, that's one of the most powerful spots in BC. And
where is Nelson? Just curious.
It's right in between Calgary and Vancouver.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit closer to Calgary, but it's in the interior. The Kootenays, West Kootenays.
So in the mountains.
It's in the mountains, the smaller mountains. It's very magical there. It's incredible there. That's a vortex. Like when I came here, I lived there for 4 years. I came back here. I felt like I woke up from a dream.
Whoa!
It felt like I was just man.
Must have been very,
but a lot of people say that when they come back from BC.
Yeah. So I don't know. Is Toronto vortex? The thing is it could be. But the thing is we have all this.
I'm not talking about the necessary.
We have a huge city built on top of it.
Well, I'm not talking necessarily about the ley lines, Carmen. I'm talking about the people. I'm talking about the consciousness of the people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the thing is with Toronto is people. I don't know, like the difference between, let's say, Toronto or even the East Coast and the West Coast is that in the East Coast, people work harder, people are more grounded.
Yeah.
In the West, there might be more openness to spirituality.
Yes.
Because people are more bright-brained, but they're a little bit more flaky. They're happy,
yes.
a little bit flakier.
They call the land of fruit and nuts kind of thing, right? Yes.
But they don't have, the thing is, but nothing's really getting done. See, in Toronto, things happen. Like we have big, for example, in the consciousness movement,
so you know what?
Big trade shows here.
Well, it's making me think of left brain, right brain.
Exactly. Yeah. The East Coast is more like left brain, and
the West Coast is kind of
I think
right
Toronto
brain.
is a special case though too, because even in Ontario, Toronto has a different flavor than say Hamilton or London.
Oh, yeah.
It's like people come to Toronto to work.
Yeah.
And to make something of their lives.
You know what? When people come to Toronto from anywhere, from the States, anywhere, when they come here, they love it. Usually, most of the time, they're like, "Wow, it's amazing here. Like, I didn't know Canada was like this." They love it here, and yeah, okay, people come here to work, and it is a big city, and it's one of the most busy cities, but at the end of the day, it's still one of the best cities to live in. I'm not a big fan of cities, but for a city, it's an amazing city.
Yes, I would agree with you on that. And
this is one of the places where things are going to happen. A lot of exchange, communications. People come here. There's trade shows. I might go to, like, there's that Total Health show a month ago, so you might go there. You might meet someone who's visiting.
Were you there? Did you go to that?
I went very briefly.
Okay.
You might meet someone who's visiting from California, another person from Vegas, another person from Egypt, and everyone's mingling, and then they go back to their homelands. But the Toronto's the meeting place.
So that's right, and they collect that energy and take that back.
Exactly.
And they see the possibility of a big city that's working.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I just hope we can keep it going because, you know, at some point.
Well, Toronto is going through now. When I look at this chart, there's Pluto. So Toronto has its sun at 10 degrees Capricorn, right there, and right now Pluto is around that area right now.
Okay.
So when Pluto. If this was a person, if Pluto's on somebody's sun, usually it's a time of a lot of intense transformation going on.
Okay.
Now, from a spiritual perspective, it could say that Toronto's certain communities, certain people within Toronto are going through a spiritual transformation, and I can see that. I can actually see that in the last year. But also from another perspective, from a political perspective, we have Rob Ford as mayor, and he's trying to transform. He's like the first real mayor of the megacity, really. He's the third mayor.
But do you think that he's a detriment to the spiritual energy, or do you think he's a positive?
Well, I mean, ultimately everything's positive.
Right. But on.
Yeah, he could be a detriment, but he's just playing his role for our own.
Well, and exactly.
But he's not awake. In other words, but he's not an awake.
He's not awake. But what I'm saying is, there's different expressions. This is what I'm trying to say. Is there's different expressions of an astrological transit. So when I look at people's charts, the people that I deal with are people that I attract to me are people going through a spiritual transformation. So I'm looking at those planets from that perspective, right? Now, if I'm looking at it from a different perspective, I can look at it from a business perspective. Now, from a political perspective, we have Pluto aligned the sun of Toronto. Now, from a political perspective, we have Rob Ford as mayor, and he's trying to make everything like but he's all about budgeting all over the place, right? He's making all these cuts, and that's another transformation. That's a different perspective of a transformation on a lower frequency.
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's different transformations going on at different frequencies, right?
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant by that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else should we talk about, Carmen? We've got. It looks like our other guest is not here yet, at least, and we have still
Probably
have time.
Stuck in the same subway
and so it's
track
great. It's great to have you here on the show, and so we can have this all this kind of groovy conversation. But what else do you want to get into here?
Oh man.
Well, I know you mentioned, if you don't, I can drop something.
Sure.
I know you mentioned something about a lot of the light workers who are not really light workers, kind of like falling for a lot of the new agey stuff that's not real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you mentioned that's why you do astrology.
Yeah. I remember when I first got into this stuff, this is when I first really got into it, this is when YouTube first came out, and there wasn't that much. And then in the last couple of years, it's like I go on Facebook, and Comet Elenine's gonna land, and 3 Days of Darkness, and Nibiru, and Planet X, and UFOs are gonna come, and there's just Galactic Federation of Light, and it's just okay, whatever. What does the chart say? What does the chart say? Let me look at the chart, because the chart's gonna tell me a story.
Can the chart tell you if ETs land?
Yeah.
Okay, because we were talking just before the show, and she's talking about disclosure, and they had that big conference down in Washington.
The citizens hearing in Washington, D.C. last week, right? You know about that, Carmen?
Yeah,
okay.
So,
and I basically said, what did I say? I said,
you don't believe they're even here.
That's right. I said I didn't even believe.
You don't believe ETs are here?
No.
Okay.
Well, okay.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
I'm just trying to get some conversation going here.
Okay, first and foremost, like I said, I don't invest too much of my energy in that anymore. But a few weeks ago, me and Joe, we threw an event. We were going to contact summon starships, and we did. And we summon them all the time.
Where were you?
Scarborough Bluffs.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've seen them many times. It's nothing new to me. Now, this is what. Did you see the movie Sirius with Stephen Greer?
No.
Okay, so they're summoning starships in that film. Like they're all hanging around a campfire and they're summoning starships. Now we did the same thing.
Do they see them? Did they see them?
Yeah, they see them.
Okay.
When they come, it's not like they come. It's like you'll just see them.
These
they'll
lights
show up
flickering.
and then they'll disappear.
Okay.
Or they'll just shoot away. They might make a right angle turn. You'll know they're not a plane.
Actually,
obvious.
We do have some video of one of these UFOs. We're going to show in a minute as soon as we get it ready.
Okay.
But you've seen them. So
yeah.
But they didn't land.
Okay, you guys want to hear a crazy story?
Yes.
Yeah.
I probably need 5 minutes for this story.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll show the video of the UFO.
So about 5 years ago, just over 5 years ago, this is a year after I moved to BC. and it was a few weeks before my birthday, and my friends asked me, I said, what do you want to do for your birthday? And right away, I didn't even think about it, it just came out of me. I said, let's go to the hot springs and do magic mushrooms.
Which, by the way, apparently, I just saw something. I got an email about that psilocybin can actually grow more brain cells. It's scientifically proven now.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, so anyways,
and you don't believe in keys,
the day that we were supposed to leave, I was on my way to work. I had a job in town there, and I was going through my backpack, and inside my backpack I had a belt pack with my social insurance card, my birth certificate, and a couple other things, and I misplaced it. I left it on the bus.
Okay.
And that day when I was at work, I realized, I'm like, geez, I lost my belt pack with my two most important pieces of ID.
Yeah.
So I'm calling around, I'm trying to locate it, and then I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna worry about it Monday. Let's have fun tonight. We're gonna go to the hot springs.
Good for you.
So I just let it go, and then we went up. My friend drove us up to the hot spring, and one of his friends came that was visiting. He was from Toronto too, but he was working in Alberta, so he came to visit. Anyways, we went over there, and a couple hours into it, you know, we had a nice raw chocolate birthday cake. Then we ate some mushrooms, and within a couple hours, the whole sky just lit up like fleets, thousands of ships, thousands, and 3 out of 4 of us all saw this, and they were just it felt like God was turning on a switch, and every time that switch was turned on, ships would just like light up the sky. And there's orbs flying all around us, and everything just opened up, and they were speaking to us telepathically. They said, this is a sneak preview of the future. Everything's opening up. They said, this is a sneak preview of the post-2012 world. Now, you know,
this is 5 years ago.
This is 5 years ago. Now, obviously, you know, the veils haven't totally opened yet, but it's the future. Like, we're moving into that, right?
Okay, so, and I'm sure the mushrooms had nothing to do with it.
Well, no, but like, I just want to say something. Now, these are now what mushrooms do. Okay, let me just finish the story and I'll get into that.
Yeah.
Now, the next day, me and my friend were having a little powwow, and we said, we were just talking about our experience, and he got the same information. They said the same thing to him. This is a sneak preview of the future. And then I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, who cares about my piece of paper? It says I'm born in Ontario. We're becoming citizens of the universe. And that was my lesson. And that experience has helped shape me, helped put me on the path that I'm on now. Because everything that I do now, when I work with people, I have this perspective that we're becoming citizens of the universe. And how do we pursue that? What do we need to do to facilitate that? Now, to answer your question about the mushrooms, we were on mushrooms, and that's why we saw it, because those were what they call trans-dimensional UFOs. And we also saw orbs. So you know how sometimes you see orbs with cameras? But you don't see them with your eyes?
Yes.
Because they're in another dimension. And that's why we saw those ships with the orbs together. We saw all of them.
Yes, that makes all of it. Because you raise your vibration to a point where you could see them. Yeah.
And the other ships that I've seen were in this dimension. I wasn't on anything.
Okay.
I didn't take anything. I just see them.
No, what did they? So when you saw, okay, do we have that video? Did it look like this, Carmen? Not that one. This one is fake, but do we have a real one? Do we have the real one? This is the real one here.
I don't know. I think that's fake. They're not going to fly around like that.
Well, I remember that. I saw it that day, and people were freaking out all over downtown. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
You saw it? You saw that?
Yeah.
You saw that?
Yeah.
You saw that in person?
Everybody was freaking out on Bay Street.
Because you can see the CN Tower.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2012, March.
There would have been so much. I would have heard about this.
They tried to clamp it down. Plus, I think the aliens set up.
Everyone's got a camera in their pocket. That would have been so much.
Well, that's why that was on YouTube, because somebody had a camera.
But there should be like 100.
Okay, I'm joking around.
Wouldn't that be in the serious, covered in that serious documentary? Wouldn't have they put that there?
A ship like
Holy
that?
Cow.
No, I don't think they don't
If
fly.
it were real, I
See,
mean.
that's the
Square
thing.
ships.
Okay, so the thing is this:
That looks like
you never see that.
Yeah.
It's always a little bit sketchy. It's always like they're not landing.
Our contact, let me tell you something. Mass contact will everything is a fractal reflection of the big picture, right?
Yeah.
And the small picture, microcosm, macrocosm.
Yeah.
We're not going to have this mass contact until we're ready, until we're evolved enough.
Because you know what?
Some people
That'll freak you out. That will freak you out.
Not only that, but we're not. It's our consciousness. Yeah, it will freak you out, and that's a spin-off of it. But it's not like only certain people are ready for that.
I'll tell you just a quick. Do we have time for me to tell a quick story?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was 2 years ago. On my way back from Peterborough, it was late at night. I was with my friend, and I said, "Okay, it's dark. We can see the stars because we're in Peterborough. In Toronto, it's hard to see sometimes. It's hard to see the stars. So I said, okay, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I want to see a UFO. So I want you guys to stop in front of me as I'm driving home or something. I'm calling on you guys." And so I said to my friend, I said, "Okay, let's
just
call
like
them."
that song.
Yeah, just like whatever song. So I said, okay, let's call on them. So I dare you. I'm challenging you to come and stop right in front of us. Make me have to stop my car and come right in front of me. So it took us 2 hours to get back to Toronto, and I was really disappointed because nothing happened. I was like, oh well, so much for that. Then 2 days later, I'm in a park. And it's late at night, and I see these people, and I don't know them. And these two ladies, and I don't know them. And one was in a wheelchair; she couldn't walk. And we were just saying hi, how are you? It was a beautiful night. It was a very nice summer night. And she said, "I don't even know why I'm telling you this, because I don't even know you, and you're going to think I'm crazy. But 2 nights ago, I saw a UFO, and it was so weird. I actually recorded on my phone, and I actually have it. I'm going to show it to you."
Whoa.
Honest to God. So I looked at this woman who's an absolute stranger, and I said, "I don't think you're weird at all. I'm actually really jealous." And I hugged her because I knew what that was.
Did she show you the video?
Yes, she showed me the video.
And what did it look like?
And they were 2 lights, and they were playing with each other. They were dancing around with each other. And the reason she actually saw it from her apartment. The reason she saw it is because she was going to bed, and her cat was actually freaking out at the window, so much so that she said, "What are you doing? What are you looking at?" So she created such a ruckus that she got up and actually saw it. Said, "Oh my God!" First she saw one, and then she saw the second one, and she said, "I have to record this." And they were different colors. They went into different colors, and so she actually showed this to me. And so what I knew was, they're telling me, "Be careful what you wish for. You're not ready for me yet. You're not ready for us, but we're going to show you." Because I was really disappointed when I got home.
Oh, okay.
Right? So anyway, I thought, wow. So I hugged this woman. I said, "Thank you." She has no clue as to what she did for me and what that meant. She just thought I thought she was crazy.
Wow.
So.
Well, there you go.
That's a message to me.
There you go.
Okay, so what about a few minutes left here, Carmen? Crop circles. Any thoughts on those?
Okay, I'm not an expert at that, but one of my good friends, Joseph Mark Cohen, you should have him on your show next time he's in Toronto.
Next time he is, give us a call.
Yeah, for sure. One of his theories is that, I don't know if you heard it from someone else, but he thinks that it's like acupuncture on the planet.
Yeah, I just heard that.
Yeah.
It's like
that neat?
exactly.
That's a great
like a homeopathic
concept.
treatment of some sort.
So is it like healing? I thought it was from messages to tell us, but is it healing?
It's both. That
actually makes a lot of sense, so that it's actually.
And he also said something.
Goodness.
I went to one of his presentations, and he said something about.
That's very.
He said something because it's usually always in England, right? He said something about that land. I can't remember what it was, but there's something about the earth there, and that's another reason why they always do in that area.
Is it sick?
No.
In terms of acupuncture?
It's near Stonehenge. I think so. I've heard some stuff like this. So first of all.
Wiltshire, yeah.
Well,
not just Wiltshire. I think other surrounding areas too. But Wiltshire is the main. Yeah, Wiltshire.
Yeah, Wiltshire. Okay. So I heard. Have you heard of Mary Hardy?
Mary Hardy.
Yeah, she's got a website called Temple of Saqqara. Anyway, she's I'm fascinated with what she talks about. But she was saying that she says a lot of stuff, which I was trying to get up actually. But first of all, she says the crop circles are like a homeopathic. She's a homeopathist as well. She says homeopathic treatment for the planet. One of the things she said she's involved in some of this work too, because she built a pyramid in Michigan that was supposed to. What she said was that the CN Tower is part of a giant machine that is paired with the tower. There it is there. The tower in Seattle, the Seattle Space Needle. They were going to pulse the planet to do something, but she said it would have destroyed the oceans, but she fixed it by building a pyramid in Michigan somehow. Also, she said that the Millennium Dome in London was a HARP device that was designed to be the control panel for the Earth grid because it interacted with the pyramids. And she says that Stonehenge was the original control panel for the Earth grid and had a relationship to the pyramids, which was I guess the main pyramid of the Earth grid.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but you know what? You should check out. I don't know if I don't think Stonehenge is tied into the pyramids, but you should check out a film called Revelation of the Pyramids, and they talk about how the pyramids are connected to, not the Stonehenge, but it's connected to those statues in Peru.
Easter Island.
Easter Islands. And they're connected to something in Peru.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
they're connected to. They did the math.
Yeah.
There's this crazy connection between all these different spots all over the world.
Who would even think or know to do the math?
Well, I think I've seen that video
It's been
actually.
a long time. So a lot of people research that. So it's just a matter of time.
Well, what they say, if I remember correctly, is that what Mary Hardy says is that when Atlantis fell, it kind of cracked the Earth grid, or something like that. I don't know.
See, this is the thing. Like all these things, like people want to bring up Atlantis and Lemuria. And, let's just worry about the future. Let's just focus on.
But right now,
like all this stuff's fine. Like I said, I'd rather spend a Saturday night calling out starships than going out drinking, right? But
sometimes a little bit of both, because that brings the
or maybe
starships.
a little bit of both, right? You can have a fire, a beer, and watch some starships, but like I think all this was fine. But again, like I don't invest too much of my energy into that. Like someone told me I'm from Sirius A recently. I'm like, okay, maybe I am from Sirius A, but that doesn't.
This means you're serious,
yeah,
eh?
I come here in this lifetime to say, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Is it helping? Does that help you today?
It just means you're serious, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, everyone says I am serious.
See?
I have a serious look.
Okay. Well, Carmen, it's been great to have you on the show.
Yeah.
And also, I guess we should, because people can hire you to do some astrology, even for business and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I do one-on-one stuff, more like life coaching or for example, if someone has a new baby, they want to understand like how to raise their baby properly.
Or what name to call him or her even.
I won't get into that, no. Or for business, I only usually I always work with businesses that are congruent, that are not harming the planet, that are congruent with the new world that I believe in. So, and I try to do it, there's an organic process too, so but I do work with businesses. I can help them, pick a time to launch or a marketing campaign, or if they, want to map out the next year, like if they want to pick a certain time to apply for getting a loan from the bank or whatever, like I can help map that out.
Yeah.
So those are the two areas where I use astrology, but there's so many applications.
Yeah. So people can hire you to help them out with that stuff.
Absolutely.
How do people get in touch with you if they want to follow up?
They can email me at Carmen, CARMEN, at CarmenDiLuccio.com.
Have fun with that last name. CarmenDiLuccio.com. That's not so painful.
Yeah.
Okay, Carmen.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Very insightful.
Yeah, awesome.
So how many times did I say wow?
I don't know. You're supposed to cross the thing. You're supposed to go like this.
I know.
Anyways.
11 times.
Well, that's pretty good. See, I don't even notice it, Sandra. It's just your enthusiasm is infectious. Okay, we have a video of you
this
in
is a
Mexico.
video I took when I was at the pyramid at Chichen Itza in December 21st, 2012. It's just a video I did with my iPhone. It's just a quick.
Well, let's check this out. This is great. So
See if there's any
that's
UFOs
it.
in the background.
That's it for the show.
Actually, we saw UFO the day before.
There we go.
We did, yeah.
Awesome show. Sorry.
Okay, thanks everybody. See you next time.
Bye. Stay humble.
sepan que hoy, en ese rumbo, ha sido sembrado tu nombre. ¡Ometeos! Porque aquí también vive la raza roja. Ya visitamos el lugar de la sabiduría.